Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Makomborero Bowa. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm a biblical and disability scholar, a recent graduate. And my research focused more on the intersection between disability and poverty in the contemporary context. But I was looking at this relationship from a biblical perspective, and I believe the Bible has the answers to dealing with this problematic relationship. So that's basically what my research is about. So I normally engage in conversations that have to do with the church being proactive in fostering disability inclusion, whether in the African context or in any other context. So my research is normally speaks to a global vision of disability inclusion in line with the international frameworks like the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and many other things.
So could you tell me, what is disability inclusion? How would you define that?
You're right. That's a good question. And when we talk about disability inclusion, I'm sure it's a word that is thrown around a lot. And from the perspective of policy, disability inclusion has to do with the integration of persons with disabilities into the mainstream structures of society. We talk about the economy in terms of economic representation. We talk about participation in politics, in decision-making bodies, in the church. We also talk about recognition. Do we recognize persons with disabilities as human beings, or they are lesser than other human beings? So when we talk about disability inclusion, this is what we are talking about. There are dimensions to it: economic dimensions, political dimensions, as well as the social dimensions. So that's in disability inclusion as we draw it from policy frameworks. But for me, I think disability inclusion goes beyond that. It goes beyond those policy initiatives. It must, at the most basic level, speak to ideology. As a people, are we embracing persons with disabilities fully, beyond tokenistic levels? We have so many institutions now. They say, we are disability friendly. But what does that mean? Are we friendly in terms of our attitudes? So I believe there's a problem if our attitudes are not in the right place, especially in Zimbabwe, like I mentioned in my presentation, that we have brilliant policies on disability. We actually have a national disability policy of 2021, which is progressive when you look at it from the perspective of international frameworks. But does it really cause change? It's not really transforming society since 2021, but we still see poverty. We still see a lot of exclusion in the context of disability, which means there is a break between policy and practice. And I locate that break in the area of attitudes. Our attitudes are not right. We are just, saying, we are disability friendly, we are disability inclusive, but are we from an ideological perspective? This is basically what I've been trying to push for in my research, to say the church has a role to play, because policy initiatives have failed. So we need to complement that with some kind of a social ideology of disability inclusion, which can only emanate from the church, because it has the tools, it has the Bible. Let's look at the Bible and tap into the positive perspectives on disability that we find, and then use that to build an ideology, what I call a social ideology of disability inclusion, to, anchor our activities as the church. We need to embrace disability as part of God's creation. So the starting point for me is going back to theology, coming up with a theology that is inclusive so that it informs our conduct in society. Look, every person who is instrumental in coming up with disability policies in terms of government frameworks, they belong to a church. In Zimbabwe, almost 90% are Christian. And yet we have this reality of poor persons with a disability who continue, on the streets begging and the like. How do we reconcile the two? There's something wrong. It can only be the attitude. So let's engage the church. Let's engage our pastors and priests who command moral authority. Let's use our priests. Let's use our church leaders in the Anglican community to do good, to transform society. This is why we are here, transformative theologies. So we need to really start thinking of the church playing an instrumental role in the discourse of disability inclusion. I'm not comfortable with the idea of the church being informed by government on what to do. It should be the other way around. It has to be a process because we need time to actually create an ideology that is disability inclusive. Then we move to the next step. After everyone is on board, we then move to the next level to say, now that we have this in place, what can we do to change the environment? We now have our attitudes in place, they're in correct position, right? Let's now transform the environment to suit or to be in sync with our attitudes. Then we can start investing into, changing the buildings and the like. For me now, changing the buildings without changing the attitudes is tokenistic. We have seen that happening. We need to make persons with disabilities feel that they are part of God's humanity. They are part of the Anglican communion. Don't believe in the idea of saying, they should have a special something somewhere. They should be part of whatever we call mainstream. There are certain things that we do, but we don't think about it. Raise your hands to Jesus and, what if I don't have hands? My vision is for the church across the globe, especially the Anglican communion, to really embark on, this thought-provoking process, to really question ourselves, to say, what have we done? What have we not done?
Where are the gaps?
Yes. Already now the evidence shows that we have done nothing. What we have done is to contribute to the exclusion. But we can still correct that by doing what's the whole message of Christ is about redemption. We can still redeem ourselves and, do the right thing.